Welcome to From Caving In to Crushing It, the podcast for those who find themselves immersed in adversity and choose to write their story instead of having others write it for them. I'm Drew Durrani, and I'm your host. Mario, good to see you.
Good to see you, brother. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm just going to raise my volume here to make sure I can hear you. So we'll make sure we talk into the microphones. I know this is being recorded, but I don't edit this stuff out. This is real life, live stuff. So I am very, very happy to have you here. And it's interesting that I always like to thank the person who introduced me to my guest. And this was like kind of like an indirect one because you reached out to Frank Agan about your uh your business or your men's group that you work with. And Frank, stating that he didn't think he was the appropriate person for you to reach out to, introduced you to me. And so that's how we ended up meeting. So thank you, Frank Agan, for the introduction. And so I'm happy to have you on, Mario. And there are a variety of reasons why you're on. I mean, I always say that first and foremost, my guests have to be good human beings, and you check that box. And I always say, secondly, they have to be doing something professionally that is in such need for the community, and you check that box as well. Thirdly, though, you have to stand apart from your competitors or others who are in the same field or industry as you, and you certainly stand apart. And so you check that box as well. My audience knows that I always talk about how when we're younger, we're told that life is linear, that it's a straight line, that if we do A plus B plus C in that order, D is going to happen. And for the most part, life is linear until it's not. Until an external circumstances comes in between some of those letters and kind of derails that straight path. And now we have a circuitous path in our life. Ultimately, it's a defining moment that becomes that adversity in front of us. And I believe there's three types of men, Mario. There's man number one who has so many blind spots. When that adversity appears, he doesn't even notice it because he thinks he's going through life because he's doing it the way people told him to, and he doesn't change anything. And then there's man number two who actually sees that adversity and decides that that adversity is a barrier. It's life doing it to him. He's the victim, and there's nothing he can do about it. And he plays the blame game. It's everybody else's fault. He makes no big changes in his life. And on his deathbed, he's got so many regrets. Ultimately, there's man number three. He's the man who sees the adversity and is finally sick, says he's really sick and tired of being sick and tired, and that this adversity is not a barrier, it's an opportunity to do something different, take massive action, become a stronger man on the other side. That's man number three, and that's Mario Spano. So, Mario, I'd like you, for the audience, what was that defining moment? That was either the whisper in the ear, the tap on your shoulder, or like I needed, the two by four upside my head, that really transformed you from the man you used to be to the man we're speaking with right now. And how did that change affect you personally and professionally?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for all of your kind words and for seeing me the way that you do. Really appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is our second take of this, and
Mhm.
it's it's hitting a lot deeper right now, and my mind is going to a lot younger in life, which is at play for the defining moment that happened 5 years ago that led to my life falling apart. But there was a defining moment in my childhood where I kind of realized that I didn't resonate with like mo with a lot of people, maybe most people. And I didn't really like I didn't really like life, I didn't really like my circumstances with my parents and family. And like I had a great childhood in many ways, but there was also a lot of dissonance, and there were drugs and alcohol in my lineage, and multiple divorces and all that led to a lot of trauma. And that, I think, was honestly my first defining moment of like, I don't want to be like them. I had an example of like, I love my parents, grandparents, everyone is amazing. And, I have really good relationship with my mom, for example. But that was a really good example of like I don't want to be like this. And so it's it just feels really good to look back and know that, I wasn't a victim then as a child and I'm not now,
Mm,
like this isn't, I can do something about this. And it started with moving out of my dad's house when I was 18 and I slept on my mom's couch, because she had a little one bedroom apartment in government subsidized housing. And but none of that mattered to me, my vision was on the future, on hustling, working hard, working multiple jobs, paying my way through college, saving, investing, learning as much as I could, to get out of that situation, which actually essentially led me to the second, uh, what do you call it? The
defining moment.
defining moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I like say like using that term. Yeah.
Yeah, so that led me from essentially 15 to 18 years old or so to really work as hard as I possibly could to get as far away from that as I could.
Hmm.
And it was also kind of a trauma response. You go through traumatic events and you want to get away from them and
Right.
you set your sights on achieving, or there's two the typical paths of children with adult drug and alcohol addicted parents. That's either being essentially completely like lethargic
Hmm.
and unmotivated, or being incredibly high achieving, and that latter path is the one that I chose.
Okay.
However, we can kind of get stuck in that, in the mind, in the doing, in the getting to somewhere else
Right.
so intensely that we disconnect from our hearts,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
we disconnect from our soul and from like true deeper alignment, instead of this surface level achieving,
Right.
approach to life. So from 15 to about 29, until I had my first child, which was a massive defining moment and wake up call in an incredibly traumatic and brutal way, not
Yeah.
the typical experience that many men, have with their first child. During that time, I was of the mind and of, the ego and achieving and
Mm.
doing, and completely lost myself. And I think it's a longer story than what we have time for here, but that essentially led me to do a lot and achieve a lot and follow this like I call it the golden path, this
Right.
like societally expected, or like, what's the word? Praised path, you
Mm.
know.
Okay. Now you
Um,
mentioned that the birth of your first child was in a more unconventional way from other men. What do you mean by that, and how does that compound it as a defining moment?
yeah, that's a really good question. So, I'm still kind of baffled and like just confused, honestly, like from my experience, to hear other people like be so happy about having children,
Yeah.
because Oliver's birth was so traumatic for
Okay.
me, and that traumatic birth was 36 hours of labor
Right.
induced early because our doctor was going on vacation and wanted
Okay.
to be there for the delivery.
Got it.
So obviously, not really well aligned
Right.
there with like Oliver or the
Right. Of
mom.
course.
So 36-hour labor ended in a C-section, with his mother kind of like really having a panic attack
Right.
essentially, and being pumped with morphine and, vomiting on the table. And,
Jeez.
through all of that, I was handed this gooey little thing, this like little creature. And as much as I wanted to be like, wow, this is beautiful, I was like, oh my God. Like what the, like this is, so that was the start of the biggest struggle that I've incurred in my life. And the first time I ever experienced depression, and the first time that I kind of realized for the last 15 years I had been living my life for everyone else, and also as like a response
Right.
from my childhood
Sure.
trauma of like overachieving and completely lost touch with my heart, and also lived a life that like essentially wasn't I don't want to say it wasn't mine. It was mine. I did it all. And like, I had a great marriage and did a lot, achieved a lot, had a few rental properties, did the thing, did the
Right.
American dream.
Yeah.
But I woke up with this baby in my arms, just a few weeks old, sleep deprived, more depressed than I'd ever been in my life. And the first time I'd ever been depressed. So
Mm.
obviously they call that daddy blues.
Okay.
And it just it led to such deep, dark suffering
Mhm.
that somehow like shifted my awareness of my life in a way that made me see all of this. Like I had no clue of this at the
Yeah.
time. Like,
Yeah.
oh shit, I had just been doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of woke up to that fact and realized I can't wake up at 70, 80 years old with this hollow feeling of not
Right.
knowing myself and being so disconnected from
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. It's interesting how something we describe as being dark and depressing can actually be a silver lining, glowing and sharing something that can change us into realizing who we can be.
Absolutely.
I call those like gifts wrapped in sandpaper. Like that wrapping paper wasn't pretty, but the gift inside brought out a different Mario for us all.
Absolutely. And that's like, I call it like the smacking on the concrete
Mhm.
event of my life,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
need that to like find a
yeah,
new direction.
exactly. How's Oliver doing now?
He's amazing. He just started kindergarten this week.
I love it. I love it. And how is his mother? Is his mother your wife? How is that relationship going?
No, that was kind of another part of the life falling apart event,
Okay.
I like started to discover myself
Yeah.
and dig deep within myself and started, yoga and meditation
Right.
and discovering spirit for the first time in my
Yeah.
life, God, universe, whatever you want to
Sure.
call it.
Absolutely.
We grew apart quicker than you can imagine, and our marriage fell apart quicker than you can imagine. And we were also both, sleep deprived and struggling with, postpartum everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, everything just fell apart so quickly. And that was part of like that was all part of it. That was all
Yeah.
part of the my life falling apart
Yeah. Of
event,
course. Of course.
which it was the most embarrassing thing I've experienced as like someone who cared so much about what I was doing and achieving to
Sure.
experience that and essentially feel like a complete failure in front of everyone I had ever known was horrible, but it was, also what I needed to like
Yeah.
to start this journey of finding myself and realigning with my true self in a complete and whole sense with mind, body, spirit, and soul.
I I can empathize because I've been through that, and it's interesting because there are times in relationships where one person does a lot of personal development and the other does not. And so when you have one person grow in one way and the other person remain the same, yeah, there's a misalignment and something's got to give, right? How's your relationship now with her?
It's as good as it can be
It can
with
be,
with
right?
everything
Yeah.
that happened, and it's getting better all the time,
Good.
and my journey took me outside of Ohio,
Okay.
where Oliver was born, where I grew
Yeah.
up, and where she is. So we're doing distance co-parenting, which is incredibly difficult. And,
Right.
there's still hurt and pain and loss like
Sure.
on both sides.
Sure.
We were together from 15 to 29, middle school sweethearts. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's difficult, but we both obviously care about him and
Mhm.
realize he's the most important thing and do our best to put all of our own shit behind ourselves and
Yeah. Yeah.
focus on him. So I go back, as much as I can for
Good.
visits, and he's
Good.
5 now, so
Yeah.
pretty soon he'll be able to come out and spend summers and
Yeah.
holidays. And yeah,
Yeah.
he's the love of my life,
That's
and I
beautiful.
call him my savior.
He is your savior, man. He is.
Yeah, he woke me up
So
in a big way.
so how do you feel now that you've are understanding yourself, mind, body, soul? How has that changed your direction in your your professional life. Like, what were you doing before and during the birth, and what are you doing now, and how has it changed?
Yes, I remember that was part of your first question.
Yeah,
Well, I waking up to kind of be more deeply aware of myself and more deeply connected
yeah.
is was helpful in realizing that from day one of my corporate job, I didn't feel fulfilled. I felt
Hmm.
it was, yeah, it just didn't feel great. I mean, I was an analyst, so I like numbers and stuff like that, but it very quickly I left that job,
Yeah.
and ever since I've just been on a journey of like figuring out what I want to do. You know, I've tried kind of like doing the carpentry route. I come from a long line of carpenters and I
Okay.
flipped 5 houses, with my bare hands
Right.
over that 10, 12 year period we were together. Um, so I've tried the carpentry route, I've done some life coaching, and now my passion is starting businesses and solving problems, developing strategies and systems to create the shell of something that does good for the world. And the first example of that is Speak Your Mind, the mental health nonprofit I started.
Okay.
And that came from like trying life coaching for men to help guys who are going through what I've been through.
Right. Right. Right.
And then I realized like this is a massive problem and it's bigger than me just trying to make money being the life coach. So
Right. Right.
essentially opened my arms and my heart to the world and was like, hey, like men are suffering and I have suffered and I have so much in my life and I'm so healthy and lucky and I also did not give a shit if I lived or died at multiple times of
Right.
my journey, in
Right.
the
Right.
after my life falling apart event. And
Hmm.
suicide rate is 80% male, as we've talked about and as you know. So that's kind of like the start of what started my entrepreneurial, like, creating business adventure.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, this, is kind of starting to work. We do outdoor movement groups. We do a lot of virtual groups online now. And yeah, I'm applying that to multiple other businesses and just having a lot of fun with it.
Good. Good. We need more people like you because, like you said, men are 50% of the population, we're 80% of the suicides. And I think a lot has to do with our lack of connection. When we connect with a human being, we don't really connect vertically. And what I mean by that is when you connect vertically, you can grow roots, long roots, and really build a really strong in a relationship. But most men, I think they get this friendship of, I call it horizontal, where we can have like so many different guy friends, except we don't dig deep in our conversation. It's more surface level, more symptom related, as opposed to women seem to be able to have those strong ties, those strong bonds. And when they work together, they work towards the core reason why they're feeling down and they address that. We tend to go to the bar and have drinks and think after the hangover wears out, our problems are gone, and they're not. So
Right.
we need to be a little more vertical and grow those roots and really get to know men at a more deeper level, I think. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah. And luckily, I've been blessed to not naturally be that way. I've
Yeah.
always loved deep, deep connection. I was at a college party watching the OSU football game
Yeah.
and talking to a buddy about something. He was like, you're always going deep, bro."
I love it.
Everyone's just trying to drink beer and party. And I'm like talking about the universe and
I
like,
love it. I'll tell
so
you, there is something to that though, to a little deeper. Even if we just talk a little deeper than the surface, if you and I can convince men to just go a little deeper, because there is something pretty amazing about a deep conversation guy to guy. There really is, because we think alike and
absolutely.
whatnot. How is the organization growing for you? Is it like if 10 is the highest level you can possibly be at for this organization, where are you at right now, and how are you going to get to 10?
Mm, it's a good question. It's such a journey, man. It's like,
Yeah.
you have an idea and you go for it and then you get feedback and then you
Yeah.
pivot. And so it started as a mental health awareness Instagram account,
Mhm.
trying to raise awareness for men. And then a lot of women showed up and I started doing outdoor groups. And we grew to, I think, like 1,000 members pretty quickly
Mhm.
just from that because people want to get outside and they want
Yeah.
to do stuff. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I think we're at like 5,000, a community of 5,000, like just,
Beautiful.
I don't know, 6, 8 months later.
Wow.
And we have like 2,200 guys in our Facebook group. Speak Your Mind, a men's group is what it's called, and we're growing quickly. And I have two guys helping me manage that.
Good.
Um, I don't know how I would rate it on 10, man. And that's the thing. Like, I love the name of your podcast, From Caving into Crushing It. And I literally asked my partner last night. I was like, it's so hard to know where you're at,
Yeah.
in life
Yeah.
and with a business. And
Yeah.
it's like I don't know if I'm like I have two VAs, so that's good. They're doing a lot of the work, and I'm following all the direction from all the books that I'm reading to
Yeah.
focus on my top 20% that gets
Yeah.
us the most revenue, the
Yeah.
most networking, the
Right.
most movement, and delegating all the tasks that I'm not good at or that are, rudimentary, repetitive, trying to
Right.
automate with AI. So like, but I'm working half as much as I used to, and I just
Mhm.
feel like it's
Okay.
still, that old
Yeah.
mindset of
Yeah.
achieving. Like I feel kind of lazy right now, but I think I'm crushing it.
You are.
But I don't know, because
Yeah.
and I'm also not, I'm working on multiple things. I have an
Mhm.
AI podcast and a
Yeah.
kind of like a corporate mental health uh platform that we're developing
Okay.
and, some other projects. So when you do that many, you don't move as fast and
Right.
it's hard to see where you are, but with Speak Your Mind, I've been guided to really not try and get to 10,
Good. Good.
because
Good.
I've always done that and you can go 10 out of 10 speed in the wrong direction and not
Absolutely.
listen to your audience and your
Right.
people and not let it develop how it
Right.
wants to.
It's funny. I purposely asked you the question in that way because 10 puts a limit on where you can go, and we don't want that limit. So we can really erase that 10, and you can go as far as you can go. There doesn't have to be an endpoint because it's a journey,
Right.
right? There's not a destination in this.
Mm-mm.
um, because if you have a goal of reaching a certain number of men in a certain amount of time, there's so many more men out there who come next. So in a way, I'm glad you are not even addressing that 10, man,
I
because
passed your test.
yeah, yeah, you passed your test. No limits, no limits. So, I can truly say that the audience has now captured the essence of Mario Spano. They're going to want to get in touch with you. And usually before we record, I get your information on what I know. If I remember last time, you said definitely on LinkedIn and Instagram. Instagram was definitely the handle you wanted them to look at. And then obviously your website, right?
Yeah,
So what's the best way to get in touch with you?
personally, it's just my Mario Flows Instagram page, but the website is speakyourmind.men.
Okay.
And, it's not just for men right now, but that's kind of what we do more of just because
Right.
it's my personal passion. But
Right.
um, yeah, you can find us on there. Just look us up on Facebook, Speak Your Mind, or Speak Your Mind, a men's group if you're a man. Mario at speakyourmind.men is my email. So that should be plenty.
That is plenty. That's perfect. And I noticed as you put your right arm up to your ear, you had a tattoo on your wrist. Did I get the right arm? Yeah.
This one or this one?
Oh, well, it was the one, that one. Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
That one. Yeah. So what is that?
that is my great grandfather, Mario Spano.
Let me see his name.
Yeah, name and birth year 1917.
Awesome. And how about on the other wrist?
It's kind of a collection, but self-love is one of them, and then the Zen Buddhist Enzo,
Okay. Okay.
kind of like, the flow state that we experience when we're intensely focused on creating.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love the self-care piece. I'm learning it. And it's interesting when we allow external circumstances to kind of dictate our behavior, we kind of slip and stop taking care of ourselves until we make it a habit. And again, it's that flow state that helps us be more clear in what we need to do to make it a habit. And I'm still working on it. There are parts that have, like with my son, and I've started gaining weight because you start to mindlessly do things because you're not thinking about yourself. You're caring about others, and it's not selfish to self-care. If
Mm-mm.
anything, it's selfless.
Dude, it's so
And
important.
it really is. I mean, most men think that they don't that it's selfish to take care of themselves because they have to take care of others. But if we fall apart, you know, if we're one of that 80% who takes our lives, or one of those 80% who starts to question our existence, it's pretty scary
Yeah,
that we get
that's
to
your
that
wake
point
up
of
call.
isolation. So we got to catch men before they get to that point of isolation, before they start to think about, you know, dying by suicide. There's so much to life, but we're not going to realize that if we stay in our heads.
Yeah,
We got to talk to other men, other experts, people, and just get ourselves out there. And it's a strength to share our story and to ask for help. It's not a
absolutely.
weakness, you know?
Yeah, and it's not, life is not linear, like you said. And so, therefore, it's totally normal to be in that low, depressed,
Mhm.
isolated state. And that's why a lot of men take their lives because they're embarrassed and they don't know how to get out, you know? So
Exactly. Yeah.
stigmas that I think a lot of people are aware of, but also just being able to just sit in that is
Yeah.
so hard for men. Like,
Hmm.
the nonlinear aspect. I'm not perfect. I still get stuck in ruts. I just
Yeah.
woke up, chugged a glass of water, and went on a 15-minute walk this morning.
Good for you.
First time in months because I've like woken up and, I'll get to work or whatever, but I just feel like I'm just not motivated, and like,
I love that you said that though. The not motivated piece, we always have choices, right? You could have chosen to stay in bed, had a pity party, kept overthinking about the things that depress you, or you could get out of bed, some water, and go take a walk in nature. Coming back after, let's say, 20 minutes of either one of those decisions, where do you feel better? You feel better after that chug of water and coming from
yeah,
back that
absolutely.
walk, right?
Hmm.
So there is something to that, breaking that thought pattern by doing something different, doing something that's gonna get your body to move and clear your head, rather than sit in those negative thoughts. Just something I think men should start to think about and start to do things differently.
Yeah, I like that. It's very empowering to look at it that way.
Absolutely. All
It's a
right, so
choice,
I've got
and that's
I
within
got
your control.
well, yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's got to be stuff within your control. Too many men leave stuff out of their control and see that as their self-identity, and that's dangerous. I've done that. I don't want to do that.
Right.
So I have two final questions for you. All right. So I want you to think about your happy place, and you're sitting with 7 to 10-year-old Mario, and you want to give him advice about life. What are you going to tell young 7 to 10-year-old Mario?
It's not good that I just watched Happy Gilmore. That's
Oh boy, here we
that's
go.
Happy Place. I
Happy
immediately went
place. There
there.
we go. Oh, geez.
Um, I would tell him what I tell Oliver, which is, he's still a little young to understand it, but there's no wrong way to live life, there's just doing your best and doing what you feel and think is right.
I love that. There's no wrong way to live your life. All right, so switch gears. You have a different hat on now, literally, figuratively, and you're sitting with young entrepreneur, young businessman, Mario, and you want to give him advice about business. What are you going to tell him?
Hmm. This sounds like such a hippie thing to say, but
It's all right. Whatever comes to your heart.
just flow with it. Like, you know, it's so easy to get stuck on what you think or what you're trying to do, and then you don't hear what other people are saying because you're so stuck in your own lane. And it's essential to hear what others have to say, whether it's customers or fellow employees or co-founders or whoever, that's how you should grow. You should listen, more than you try and blindly pursue your own thought of what's best.
Right. I like that. We have two ears and one mouth for a reason, right? Listen more than we speak,
Right.
and then make sure we listen to people who are experts in what we're chasing. And I like that's wonderful advice. Now it's funny, like we know that in both of those questions that young Mario probably wouldn't listen to you. And in a way, okay, that's good because then you and I wouldn't be speaking now if young Mario listened to your advice. But in a way, what we really hope is that the Mario 10 years from now will listen to this Mario's advice, right? We don't often listen to our own advice, and we should do that more often. So
Right.
I hope you out there, if you need that type of advice, listen to Mario, get in touch with him. Mario, I want to thank you for a variety of things. First, coming on, but also coming into my life, for reaching out to Frank Agan, not even knowing I exist, and then he pointed you in this direction. So I'm grateful for that. Keep doing what you're doing. You're a wonderful human being, and you're doing a lot of wonderful things for people. There is no 10 to aspire to. This is a journey, man. Keep doing it.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Everybody out there, please take care of yourselves. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and give us a review to help others find it. I'd like you to answer this question. Are you living the life you want to live, or are you living the life others want you to live? I'd like you to think about that for a second, because I strongly suggest you live the life you want to live. If you want to learn more about what I stand for and my services and how I'm able to help many men get out of their own way, please go to my website at www.profitcompassion.com. Feel free to also email me at drew@profitcompassion.com. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Take care of yourself and choose to write your own story instead of letting others write it for you.